Welcome back, everybody. In the first video of this little sweet ring series, we fabricated this lovely chanlivet dainty little heart, and then we made a little hammered texture sterling silver ring base for it, and we put it all together. And in this episode, this was the final episode, we will put some gold leaf down. We'll get all our enameling and finishing done, and in the end we'll have a very sweet little ring for our hand or for somebody that you love. So anyway, let's get started. Now we still need to do counter enamel because it's very thin and we don't want this little heart to crack. And so, but we are going to do a little bit. You can see where we did the soldering here. It's a bit gloopy. So we're going to start. Let me get these out of the way for now so it doesn't get crusty. I'm just going to use my, I think this is an 80 that I just happen to have on there, but if you've got the 60 will be just fine. And I'm going to just carefully sand the back of this little guy. Carefully, not trying to sand the sterling silver, because that's depletion gilded right now and it'll stay nice and white if I don't mess with it. There we go. Alrighty, perfect. Now, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to go turn on my kiln before I forget, and we are going to be putting the kiln at our usual 1430 Fahrenheit, which is 776 Celsius. So I'm going to go do that, and then we will get the counter enamel on here right after that. Alrighty, we are going to, I don't want to sift on this little guy because it's going to get all over the base, and I don't want to get any enamel on the base because I don't want to have to clean it up later. So we're going to wet pack, and I'm going to be using unleaded grisaille black on the back of this, but you could use any color you want. I'm just a creature of habit, and I can see that I need a little bit of water, and I've got a little distilled water. Get that. And I'm just going to very carefully wet pack a thin layer on here. And I'm going to go, remember, 2 thin coats or 1 thin coat is better than a real thick coat because it's a thinner gauge metal, and if you go real thick, it could just pop right off when it's cooling, and you will not like that. Yeah, so neatness counts with wet packing. Alrighty, that's looking good, and I can see I got a little bit on there, so I'm going to get a clean brush and wipe it off, just that area that I didn't want to get it on. It's looking good. All right, we're going to let this dry. And again, I've got it, it's not quite heated up yet. I've got it set to 1430 Fahrenheit, 776 Celsius, and we will fire it. And I'm thinking, I like to do 2 coats, but we'll see how it looks. If it seems like we're not putting a ton of enamel on here and it's very small. So it might be that 1 coat of counter enamel will be fine. Probably gonna do 2, but I'll be back after I've fired it. Oh, and how are you gonna fire it? I've got, just for this one, it'll be nice and easy. You could just put it down on your thing in case, if you've got, it depends how dirty your platform is, but I'm just going to gently put him up like that and fire it just like that. And this is out of the kiln. And yeah, I am going to do 1 more coat of counter enamel on here. Better to be safe than sorry. But just remember, nice and thin. All right, there we go. We'll let that dry and we will fire it, and then we'll be ready to work on the front. All right, this is I like this. This is 2 thin coats, and I think it's just fine. And you'll notice, because of all the times we kind of quenched this, the sterling silver is staying pretty white, with the exception of right where that seam is, where the eutectic solder is. So that's nice. So that's why we don't want to mess with it, because it'll just stay lovely. Because when we quenched it and heated it up, it pulled the fine silver to the surface of the metal, which is nice. And it's just so cute. We're going to put a little layer of textured gold foil down, but before that we need to have a very thin layer of enamel to have something for that gold to stick to. And honestly, it doesn't matter what it is, because it's going to get covered with the gold leaf, but I am going to just use some G110 Flux that I have. Yeah, and I washed it because I washed it a little bit. I didn't wash it like crazy how I normally would wash it. And the other thing that we kind of have to think about is, like, how on earth are we going to fire this thing? Like, if we try to set this on, hold on, let me grab a trivet. Yeah, I mean, a regular trivet, how, maybe you could do a regular trivet. I would feel I don't think I'd feel very good about that. No. Let's see what other trivets we have. No, well, probably the closest would be that, like that. But generally, it's just challenging. So, but trust me, I didn't show you all this to make you feel sad. I have thought of a solution. And obviously there's lots of different solutions, and this is just the one that I came up with the materials that I had. This is a piece of mica that you can buy in sheets, and you can see that I cut out a tiny little slot, and then this is a U-shaped trivet. I've got lots of these, but this would work on a standard trivet as well. And see how that sits right in there like that, and then I can just slide him in like that, and that gives me a nice steady workspace to work with, and it feels nice and good. And so that's how we're going to do it. It's half the battle is trying to figure out how to keep things face up, and that is the solution that I came up with. So I've got my G110, and I want to keep it really thin because I don't need much. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of water in there, and I'll put a dollop, because sometimes when you wet pack you can go way too thick. We just need enough for like a nice even coat, and we put another little dollop, and there we go. Big drop of water, there we go. That's good. And then just spread it all around, nice and even. And then I might make sure that's not enamel on the front. There we go. There we go. And I just absorbed it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, look, I got enamel on the front, so I'm going to clean it up. But I really don't want to have to fool with it. That looks good. All right, so we're going to let this dry and fire it. And then we will enjoy our gold leaf. All right, we've got a nice thin coat of Flux here. And now we're ready to talk about our gold foil. This is a special gold foil that you may or may not be able to get. I purchased it because the normal gold foils are very, very thin. And they're too thin to take a texture. And so I kind of did a Google search one day, and I looked up some, I thought to myself, who else uses gold? And so I found this company. I'm just going to show it to you. Sure Pure Chemicals. Sorry, chemicals. I can't eat whatever. Anyway, and I have purchased some 99.99% pure. It is 0.0005 thick inches, or look, I even did this for you guys, 0.0127 millimeters. And do not despair if you can't find it. You can just use regular gold leaf, you just won't get the texture. But if you purchase the kit from me, you'll get a tiny piece of textured gold foil to make your ring. That will be very exciting. And it's very beautiful gold. I got a 2x4 inch piece, and look at how, I mean, it's glorious. It's so shiny. And I'm not going to use my fingers to touch it. I am going to still use a piece of, but you can, look how thick it is. I mean, you can pick it up. All right, I'm using my fingers, but feel how thick that is. This is not an inexpensive piece of gold, and it may not be an inexpensive kit. I'm going to price it properly. And I just made myself a little cutting grid here, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll do, because I'm probably going to do a 1x2 inch texture. So let's go ahead and, because we'll need about just shy of course it's not perfectly square, but that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this much to make our texture, and then I shall put this back in its box for another project. There we go. Oh, that's my kiln making. Yes, the kiln is, I know we had that problem with the last time, but it's getting worse. I know I'm gonna have to deal with it. I'm probably gonna call tomorrow and see what's wrong with my kiln. All right, so we have this lovely piece of gold, and let's go ahead and walk on over to the rolling mill and put a texture on this. All right, here we are at the rolling mill, and I've decided that I'm going to do this texture. It's kind of like a little scallop. It looks real cute. I think that's going to be charming. And I've actually already gotten this set up, and I actually did a piece of comparable silver foil. Let's see if I can get that, just to make sure that it was the right setup. I don't want to waste hundreds of dollars worth of, well, maybe not hundreds of dollars, but of the gold foil. And so what I have is I've got my texture plate and a little piece of regular paper, and I'm just going to position, because this one does have kind of a direction, I'm going to try to get it nice and straight on here. There we go. And I'm going to fold it over very carefully, and I'm just going to run it through. There we go. Grab it on the other end. There we go. And let's see what we've got. Oh, it's very pretty. It's very pretty. Nice. And you can see it's a little bit work hardened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the kiln at the same temperature just for like a minute, which will anneal it just enough so it's a little bit easier to work with. So you can see I've got a little piece of mica over by my base here. That's just so when we anneal, we don't have anything stick to this, because there might be a little bit of glass on here. And I'm going to go ahead and anneal both the silver and the gold at the same time. And I'm just going to go ahead and put them in the kiln, and you'll even be able to watch these little sheets relax. But just remember, after they're annealed, they're a lot more delicate than they are right now. All right, now I'm so glad I chose this texture. It's very beautiful. All right, so I've went ahead and remember this little cutout that we have from the top of the ring? I hope you saved it. I hope you haven't used it for something else yet, because you're going to use it just temporarily. And I want to just make sure that I have enough. I don't want to waste this gold, so I've made myself a little grid thing, so I'm going to trim it just at the size that I want it to be. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, and I've already bent down the corner. Good, good. Like I said, it's annealed, so it's very soft now. That's fine. We'll just do, that's good. I'm obviously fussing with this, but you know. All right, good enough. And I'm going to grab my scissors and see if I can get this just in a little bit more. There we go. You know what, I'm just going to cut it here and deal with the fallout later. There we go. And then we'll save that. That'll probably get cut up and go into the kits. So if you buy a kit, you'll get a little piece of this. Alrighty. And what I'm going to do is I've got my little ring, set that aside. We're going to use this as a template because we know this is exactly, I even didn't take the paper off, so I know it's perfectly going to fit in there. So if we use this as a template, we know it's going to be spot on. So I'm going to actually hold this up and get rid of the paper so we can cut this on the cutting mat. And I'm going to think about how I want the direction of this to go. So I'm going to go just straight up like this, or do I want it to be the other way around? Nope, I want it like this. This is good. All right, I'm fooling around far too much. And then I am just going to, first I'm going to go ahead and maybe just trim this right. There we go. And then I'm going to use, I'm keeping my finger on it, just so I can, and you want to save every little bit of this gold that you pull off. Good. Twist it around. There we go. There we go. All right, that should be good. And I will save all this little bit of gold for sure. Set that over there. All right, and we'll lift this little guy up, and we've got a heart shape. Now let's get ready to put that piece of gold on our ring. So we've got our little mica holder. Put my ring right there. That's good. Perfect. And I've got this is some A1 clear fire. Here is that. And we're just going to very carefully put it in place. All right, I'm just going to put a little bit of the clear fire right in there. And then I'm going to pick up my little heart. Boom. And then just ever so carefully put him. Oop. You know what, I'll, you know, sometimes your fingers are the best. There we go. And I'm just going to gently push him down. You can even use your fingers. This is thick enough that you're not going to squish it too much with your finger. There we go. And you can even get a little Stuzza Cadente to just gently make sure it's pushed down. Just like that. All right, we're gonna let this dry and we're gonna oh, look how pretty it is. Sparkly. Now, we're gonna let it dry and we're gonna fire it, and then we're ready to talk reds. All right, this is, look how cute it is. I just love the gold. You can almost just do it like that. Now, I'm going to set this aside. This is really adorable, but we need to think about our reds. And I have chosen a red. Remember these? Remember this tutorial? Well, actually, I made this after the tutorial, but it was from the same concept as the tutorial. I just wanted to see how all these reds were going to look over this gold foil. And I've got my cheat sheet right here about which reds those actually are. And I chose, let's see if we can see, I chose this particular, you can see that both of these are very red, but this one's more of a pinkish red, which in my mind actually reads a little bit more as like a ruby red than this kind of luxurious, kind of more of a warmer red. So I thought for the heart, it would be really nice to use this color right on the end. And if I, oh, the second one, yeah, 1729 wine. And I know you can get, that's the other reason I picked it, is it's not, a lot of these are old Thompson enamels, and this is a lovely one that I use all the time, and you can purchase it at enamelartsupply.com. So go out and get yourself some of this 1729 wine. And well, and another option that might be really pretty if you wanted to go more pink would be this middle pink right here is very pretty. See that right there? That is N16, which is a Nino Mia color. I think that's N16 dark pink. Would be very pretty as well. But we're going to keep it very simple with this color right here. Doesn't look quite the same as on the sample, but you know, sometimes, you know, samples vary. So we're going to get that out of the way. We'll have a look at this one more time because it's so pretty. And I've got it, boom, right here. Because it's a single color and we want to see straight through this color to the gold to see that beautiful texture that we put on, we need to really make sure that, you know, you think you're washing it enough, go ahead and wash it a couple more times. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and wash it just quickly. Give it a nice swirl and make sure, because I washed it this morning, but then I've been using this one for about a week. So just want to make sure there's nothing. There we go. So let's see how clear that water is. That's what you want to see. So we've got that sitting right there. My other trivet was hot, so I've switched it out for this one that doesn't quite fit, but it'll hold everything straight while we get everything on. It's a little bit, you could fire it exactly like this, but you'll get a little bit of texture on the back of it, which if you care, if you don't care, it's all good. So I'm going to get a nice clean brush, and I've got some clean distilled water, just like that. And make sure there's no little black flecks in my brush. I always do that to make sure, because those little black flecks will hide. And before I really get too far into it, I want to make sure that there's no gaps. So I'm just I might even use my finger, press it down, make sure everything is nice. Oh, you could even use this toothpick, literally. I haven't learned any other Italian words. Oop, you know, you could do this holding it as well, just to make sure that it's not creeping up and it looks nice. I'm not pressing down too hard, like I don't want to ruin the texture, but that looks nice. Now, neatness counts because we're going to be wet packing this. I'm going to put a little water on it. There we go. And we'll definitely probably do two, I think 2 coats is probably going to do it. And you could certainly do 2 shades here, but I wanted to keep this simple. Not only because I'm putting together a kit and I'm already going to be putting this gold in there. I want people have to be able to afford it, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll do 2 shades of the red, but then I'm like, I'm not going to do that. There we go. Cover the gold. Nice and even. Lots of water. Oh. Just do that. And I can see I got some on the silver. There we go. It's hard to see sometimes because it's almost, some of the little flecks are clear. So I'm going to go ahead and just carefully wick up a little bit of that moisture, because that'll allow me to really have a look at what I need to do to clean that edge. Just like that. All right, we're going to let that dry and fire it. Actually, maybe I will just fire it like that. That's pretty stable. I'll be right back. Well, that came out very nice. We're going to do 1 more coat of the wine, because I can see it's not quite as even as it could be. And then we will go from there. So let's go ahead and put you right like that. Yeah, this, I mean, no one would ever think this is a pinkish red. It definitely looks like a beautiful ruby red to me. Nice and even, good. Just wick that up and clean up that edge. There we go. And I'm having thoughts about, maybe I do want to grind this flat, but we'll see how it looks after the next firing. There we go. All right, we're going to let that dry and fire it, and then we'll see what we have and how we want to move forward from there. All right. Oh, look at how beautiful this red is. I love it. Now, if you were super neat and you didn't get any little flecks, you can literally just put this in your tumbler and call it a finished piece. I kind of, as I was making this, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I got a little fleck of the red right here. And also, I just want to bring the enamel all the way up to the top, just because I like to make things a little bit more complicated. And I feel like if I give it a grind and 1 more fire, it'll be even that much more special. So please feel free to stop and call it done. I am not a sane person, so I'm going to take this to another level just because that's what I like to do. So that being said, we'll take that clear that we used, the G110 Flux, and I'm just going to put a coat of that over the whole thing, and that'll take it all the way to the top, and then I'm going to grind it down. So yeah, I like to change things up as I go along. So we will just put a nice blob, make sure it's nice and clean and extra washed. You don't have to be, now that I know that I'm going to be grinding it, I don't have to be quite as tidy, but I want to be a little bit tidy. I think just one coat of this clear will be fine. I wouldn't do any more coats of the, I don't want it to get any darker. So I would not do another coat of the wine, or else it'll be just maybe a little bit too dark. So we'll make sure that's nice and even. Good, it is. We'll let that dry. Maybe I'll give it a little, there we go. All right, we'll let that dry and fire it, and then finish this little guy up. He's in the home stretch. All right, this is very sweet. So I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of grinding and polishing on the top to clean up my mess and smooth everything out. So let us get started with that step. All right, I am going to just start with my diamond. I think that's my 600 grit diamond sanding disc, and I'm just going to go ahead and go over the whole thing. And then I'm just going to work my way through the other 2 sanding discs, and then I'm going to do a fire polish, and then we will be done. Excellent. And I'm going to switch to the other one next. All right, now I've just gone to the 60 grit sanding disc. Just, it takes a work of a moment. Alrighty, and then switch that out for the 40. It's going so fast, these little pieces. Just like that. There we go, cute as a button. And then the last 2 little things, hold on, I've got to reach back behind me and get the sandpaper. Remember our friends gray and blue. And I'm just going to, makes it nice and easy because you've got a really nice little handle here. So I'll just do this. And remember, this is probably more than you definitely could have stopped at that second coat and had a beautiful little ring. I just like to take things. I feel like if you can get it with a really flush grind, you see a little bit more of the texture of the gold underneath, because if it's not perfectly flat, you're seeing a lot of reflections going in a lot of different ways, and it can kind of muddy the look of the texture underneath. So that's probably why I'm particular. I'm a little particular. So we've got that. Go to the 1200. Boy, I wish everything had an easy handle like this ring does. And you can see I'm not doing anything with the rest of the ring at this point because the tumbler is really going to do. I can see right here where it rested on the base of my dirty trivet. I've got a little bit of glass that I'm going to clean up, but I'm going to do that at the very end. I'll just nick it off and then throw the whole thing in the tumbler, and then we will be good to go. Oh, that's very cute. Oh man, I think it's going to be very, I might wear this. Hopefully. Excellent. All right, so remember, we're going to wash this with some soap and water before, and rinse it with some distilled water and let it dry. And we will fire polish this and then put it in the tumbler and see what we've got. Look how cute this ring is. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do to polish it all up is I've got my stainless steel shot in my tumbler, and I'm just going to go ahead and put him in there and close him up. And I'm going to tumble him for about 45 minutes. That should be enough. And then we will see what we have if everything is all, oops. There we go. Good to go. Let me just tap that. Do this. There we go. Excellent. And I've got my tumbler right here. Just going to put it like that. And we'll be back. Well, this is just out of the tumbler and it looks very sweet. I'm so glad I did the little bit of hammered texture around the base. It gives it a little bit of visual interest, and it is a lovely shade of red. So let's see if it fits. Yes, it does. It's perfect. I will probably wear this little, oh, is it? My one is a lot, my left side. I guess I do more work on my right side. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial and make yourself a little ring. And thank you again for supporting me in my Vimeo channel. Have a great week, everybody, and I look forward to our next video together. Thanks so much.